Hi there guys, it's Eastwood for Life fan here, back with another recent viewings video, and this video contains all the movies and a TV series that I watched from the start of January to the end of March. First two movies are war movies. This one I hadn't seen before, which I thought I did. The War Lover, early 1960s World War II movie starring Steve McQueen and Robert Wagner. Set in England, World War II, where McQueen plays a overconfident American bomber pilot and Robert Wagner plays his co-pilot. And the two of them, they are at odds with each other over the handling over certain flight missions, and then also on top of that, they are both fighting for the affections of a young English woman. And pretty decent World War II movie. The ending I actually didn't see coming, and one can actually see in this movie the kind of the shaping of McQueen's character, which he later appeared probably, I think it was a year or two later, in John Sturges' classic The Great Escape. Worth watching this one. The War Lover gets a 6-star rating out of 10. Then the next World War II movie, one I thought I'd seen, and this is a first time watch. This is Sam Peckinpah's only war movie that he made. This one, Cross of Iron, from the late 1970s, starring James Coburn and James Mason. This one's set on the Russian front from a German's perspective, where James Coburn, he plays Steiner, a decorated German sergeant who now, with his men, are now going to take orders from a new German kind of upper class commander, which kind of endangers the squad completely. And was expecting a little bit more from Sam Peckinpah, but not one of his greatest movies, this one. Only an average rating of 5 stars out of 10. 5 stars out of 10 for Cross of Iron. Certainly not one of his better movies that he directed. The next 3 movies is a Marvel trilogy, which I've revisited again. Tobey Maguire is actually my favourite all-time Spider-Man, and this one being the original movie from 2002, which Tobey Maguire plays Peter Parker, the school nerd who discovers his new abilities, and he goes up against the evil Green Goblin, one of his most famous villains, and he kind of protects New York City from all sort of villains. This one, my personal favourite all-time Spider-Man movie. This one, do like William Dafoe's character as the Green Goblin, and this one gets a 9-star rating out of 10. Yeah, really had a lot of fun revisiting this Spider-Man movie, and was in a real Spider-Man mood, and followed that one up with the sequel, which they made a couple of years later, Spider-Man 2, which I think most fans would consider the best one out of the Tobey Maguire trilogy. This one gets an 8-star rating out of 10. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, he goes up against the scientist, Dr. Octavius, better known as Dr. Octopus. Great action scenes when they kind of have their showdown, and this one, 8 stars out of 10. Not quite as good as the original for me, but still a great one in Spider-Man 2. And then the last one in that trilogy, Spider-Man 3, which is kind of known more as the weaker one out of the 3, but nevertheless I still like this movie. Highly entertaining one, this one. And in this one, Peter Parker, he has to kind of balance his life with his girlfriend Mary Jane, and at the same time he's battling against 3 enemies. He goes up against the new Goblin, long-time school buddy, the new Goblin. And also he goes up against the Sandman and Venom. Yeah, probably a little bit too many stories into this movie, but nevertheless, I did really enjoy this one. I probably would have just preferred Spider-Man just to go up against the Sandman in this one, because I found him as a pretty interesting character. And obviously Venom had its own movie. Yeah, so yeah, Spider-Man 3 gets a 7-star rating out of 10. And still on the older Marvel movies, the Fantastic Four. This was another revisit. This one from 2005. Pretty good cast in this one. You get Jessica Alba, Chris Evans, and Michael Chiklis in this one. A team of astronauts. They gain superpowers, which they come to terms with, and they use in the battle against Doctor Doom. And more of a light-hearted Marvel movie, but I always kind of enjoyed this one, and could have been a whole lot better, but this one gets a 6-star rating out of 10 for me for Fantastic Four. And the next movie I must upgrade. This is The Incredible Hulk. Much preferred this one to the Eric Bana version of the Hulk. This one now kind of stars Edward Norton, who at the time when I watched this one at the cinema, I didn't think Edward Norton was probably the best actor for the role, but nevertheless he did impress me as his in this role as the Hulk. Also you get the likes of Liv Taylor, the beautiful Liv Taylor in this one, and Tim Roth, he plays the main villain in this one. Great actor playing the villain as always. Yeah, this one gets a 7-star rating out of 10, and kind of a much overlooked Marvel hero nowadays, the Hulk, kind of just in the Avengers movies, and I always can remember the Hulk being a very popular TV series with Bill Bixby and also Lou Ferrigno back in the day. But it'd be good to see another Hulk movie getting its own trilogy of movies someday. So yeah, 7 stars out of 10 for The Incredible Hulk. The next movie is Iron Man 2. This is a first time watch. I'd seen the first one before the end of last year. And what you always get with the Iron Man movies is a great cast of actors and actresses. Yeah, Iron Man, Tony Stark, he goes up against the villain Ivan Vanko, known as Whiplash, played by Mickey Rourke. Yeah, not quite as good as the original movie, but still highly entertaining and fun to watch, and a box office smash hit, earning over $600 million at the box office. And yeah, probably Whiplash is not the best villain that could have gone up against the Iron Man, but I did enjoy the showdown between Mickey Rourke's Whiplash character against Iron Man, played by Robert Downey Jr. And this one gets a 6.5-star rating out of 10. On to some DC movies. Revisiting these movies again. Batman Begins, the first one from Christopher Nolan. Real dark, much more darker than the Tim Burton Batman movies. This one, Batman, he kind of gets trained up by his mentor, Bruce Wayne, the multi-billionaire, and then he kind of fights crime as the main superhero and protects Gotham City. Superb cast in this one. You get the likes of Christian Bale playing Bruce Wayne and Batman, and also Michael Caine, Liam Neeson, Gary Oldman, Rutger Hauer, and Morgan Freeman. A all-star cast, and this one gets a 8-star rating out of 10 for Batman Begins. Then I followed that one up with the sequel, The Dark Knight. This time Batman, he goes up against the Joker, probably his most famous villain, played by Heath Ledger. And I've got to be honest, I always enjoyed Jack Nicholson's role as the Joker in the Tim Burton movie, but that kind of character was a little bit more comedic. But Heath Ledger really owned this role, as he plays a more evil and scary version of the Joker, and deservedly so. He won the Best Supporting Actor, earning himself an Academy Award for The Dark Knight. And this one gets a 8.5 star rating out of 10 for The Dark Knight. The next movie is a rewatch, one I hadn't seen since the VHS days. This mid-1980s canon movie, Life Force, directed by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre director, the original, Tobe Hooper. This one, back in the day, I didn't mind, but on a rewatch, I'd probably give this one a average star rating of 5 stars out of 10, about space vampires who arrive and take over London, sending the whole capital and city in mass chaos. Probably a movie, if was made today with a high budget and CGI, would probably be a much better movie, in my opinion. So yeah, Life Force only getting the 5 star rating out of 10, an average watch, in my opinion. The next 3 movies are Denzel Washington movies, as I'm going through a lot of his movies from his career. This one, He Got Game. Finally watched this one for the first time, and this is the third movie directed, third movie out of 4 directed by Spike Lee with Denzel Washington. Now this one's made in the late 1990s. Denzel Washington, he plays a convict who gets given the chance to reunite with his son with a promised reduced sentence, but he must convince his son, who's a kind of a wanted high profile basketball player, to play for a certain team. And a solid movie, not being the biggest basketball fan. Solid performance by Denzel Washington. This one gets a 6 star rating out of 10 for He Got Game, which also has a very good soundtrack. And I think the movie he made after He Got Game, this one, The Siege, where Denzel Washington, he plays like this FBI special agent, together with a US Army general played by Bruce Willis, and also with a CIA operative in Annette Bening. They got to stop another wave of terrorist attacks happening in New York City. And actually this movie was made, I think, a year or 2 before the 9/11, and kind of a fairly realistic storyline, but could have been slightly a little bit better. I was expecting a little bit more towards the end, but nevertheless it's still a very good solid movie, and this one gets a 6 star rating out of 10 for The Siege. And the final Denzel Washington movie, this is a revisit, this one, The Bone Collector. One that kind of gets overlooked a little because you had movies with the similar kind of story line, such as Seven and Silence of the Lambs, but I always enjoyed this one with Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. Denzel Washington, he plays a ex-homicide detective with the help of a female street cop played by Angelina Jolie. They are hunting down a serial killer. And the movie does have a pretty good supporting cast. Also, you get Michael Rooker as well as Queen Latifah, as well as Luis Guzman. So yeah, decent movie this one. Probably my only slight criticism is probably the last 20 minutes is a tad rushed, but nevertheless this one gets a 6.8 star rating out of 10 for The Bone Collector. The next movie is one that I'd heard about from the late 1970s, a revenge movie. This one, Rolling Thunder, starring William Devane and also a young Tommy Lee Jones. Devane, he plays a war hero returning from Nam, and when he gets home, he gets a hometown welcome, and as he's trying to adjust back to normal life, he suffers a home invasion where his wife and young son gets murdered, and he also gets his hand cut off, and together the former major and his wartime buddy Tommy Lee Jones, they go after the team of invaders. A very violent finale. Wasn't expecting that, and highly recommended movie, this one, for in Rolling Thunder. This one gets a 7-star rating out of 10. And from one revenge movie to another, this one being a favourite of mine, Death Wish 2. Seen this one many times. The sequel, which Michael Winner directed in the early 80s. The character that Bronson plays, Paul Kersey, a architect. After the first movie, he moves away from New York to Los Angeles, only for tragedy to strike again. And then Bronson turns vigilante and he goes after the street punks. And actually one of the street punks is played by Lawrence Fishburne in a very one of his earliest roles. This one far more violent and gorier movie than the original movie, and it's probably, in my opinion, the rape scene, if you have the uncut version, is a little bit too long, because that is quite graphic. But this one gets a 7.5-star rating out of 10, and the movie does also have a pretty underrated movie soundtrack in Death Wish 2. The next movie is a Jamie Lee Curtis movie. This is a revisit from 1990. Jamie Lee Curtis plays a kind of rookie police officer who is the target of a psychopath. The target of a psychopathic killer who's playing a cat and mouse game with the rookie cop. Also starring Ron Silver and also Tom Sizemore. He pops up in I think a very early movie role, and it was nice to see this one back in the day, something completely different, as that time in Jamie Lee Curtis's career, she was always just popping up and starring in horror movies as a scream queen. But yeah, this one I always enjoyed, and the ending took me by surprise because I didn't remember it as being a kind of violent finale. This one gets a 6.5-star rating out of 10. Another revisit, I watched Kill Bill, and this is The Whole Bloody Affair, and this is a release, an edition put out by Stinky Tuna, which has the two movies combined, Volume 1 and Volume 2, as Tarantino intended, and obviously they did split them up in two movies, the course of 2003 and 2004, with Volume 1 and Volume 2. Former assassin and known as the Bride, played by Uma Thurman, she gets left for dead by her team of assassins who betrayed her, and then she comes out of a coma to go hunting down the assassins. And this one has a great cast: Uma Thurman playing the Bride, and David Carradine as Bill, and Daryl Hannah, which probably was my favourite character in the Kill Bill movie, and also Michael Madsen. This one, not my favourite Tarantino movie, but it's still a cool and very stylish homage to the Asian cinema genre, and also to the spaghetti western movie genre. And this one gets a 7-star rating out of 10 for Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair. The next movie is a Korean movie from 2003, Memories of Murder, directed by Bong Joon-ho, the director, the award-winning director for Parasite. And Memories of Murder, set in the 1980s, loosely based on true events which happened in Korea, from the first confirmed serial killer from 1986 to 1981. So you have two detectives who are on a nationwide case hunting down a serial killer who brutally rapes and kills young women. Now, I am not a kind of Asian cinema movie fan, but I am now kind of more coming to terms with wanting to see more Asian cinema, especially Korean movies. And this movie, Memories of Murder, is a cinematic masterpiece that really should be watched by all. It's a very graphic and dark, disturbing serial killer drama that will have you on the edge of your seat. And it's a near perfect movie, this one. And please guys, don't let subtitles put you off. It is a quite long movie, running at 131 minutes, but this movie, I was totally glued into the storyline, Memories of Murder. And a near perfect movie, and this one getting a 9-star rating out of 10. And this cover is quite deceiving. There is a Criterion Blu-ray release for those who haven't seen Memories of Murder. These are some movie cards, and I really did like the ending, which was kind of like a message to the real life killer from 1986 to 1991, who killed 10 women in Korea. Memories of Murder, highly recommended movie, and I will leave a little bit of a trailer of this great movie, Memories of Murder. Looking forward to more Korean movies from this director. And the next movie is a rewatch. This is Clint Eastwood's The Mule, which he directed and starred in. He plays Earl Stone, a near 90-year-old man who's broke and alone and facing closure of his one-time successful business. Takes on a small job as a driver, as a courier, and after a couple of journeys, he realizes that he's actually now a drug courier for the Mexican cartel. Loosely based on a true story. You also get a great cast in this one with Bradley Cooper, Lawrence Fishburne, and also Andy Garcia. And the second time viewing of this, I even enjoyed it even more. And this one gets a 7.5 star rating out of 10. Much underrated movie. And the reason why I really do like this movie is that Eastwood is playing a character very similar to his age. So 7.5 rating out of 10 for The Mule. And I followed that one up with his latest movie, Cry Macho. It's not the greatest Clint Eastwood movie, this one, but he plays a one-time rodeo star and former horse breeder, kind of living the retired life. And he gets given a job by his ex-boss, and his ex-boss wants him to go from Texas to Mexico and kind of rescue his son away from his abusive alcoholic mother. And it's kind of like a road journey movie where Eastwood's character is kind of searching for redemption. A movie that I think Eastwood fans would appreciate a lot more. And originally it was going to be made for Roy Scheider in the 1990s, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to take on this project after kind of like his comeback movie back in 2011. But Eastwood in Cry Macho gets a 6-star rating out of 10. And the only TV series that I watched, this is a rewatch, as I'm going through all the Marvel Netflix series. I'm watching them in character order. This is Jessica Jones season 1, starring Christine Ritter, who plays a superhero with special powers of strength. And she opens up a police detective agency, which she kind of has one fear, that her former lover and now turned villain, known as Kilgrave, played by British actor David Tennant. He has these mind controlling special abilities, and he is causing havoc in New York City. And Jessica Jones also becomes a superhero in need, and it's a great and dark, gritty Marvel Netflix series, and this one gets a star rating of 7.5 stars out of 10 for Jessica Jones season 1. So guys, there's all the movies and the odd TV series that I watched. Some were rewatches and some were first time watches. Guys, let me know what you think of what I've watched. Always good to hear people's comments, and as always, keep on watching great movies and TV series out there. Till the next video, stay healthy and well, and take care till the next video.